Tonight's forecast is calling for clear skies in Alamogordo. Expect an overnight low of 46 for Cloudcroft, an overnight low of 40. For tomorrow, we're looking at sunny skies. Alamogordo tomorrow, high of 77, low of 48. Cloudcroft tomorrow, high of 63, overnight low of 43 degrees.
This is the Roundup on ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Going from the Tularosa Basin and beyond, this is your local connection to the world of sports. From high school to college and to the pros, we cover the latest news and the biggest stories. Don't forget, this is your show. Change the topic anytime. Call us at 437-1230. The Roundup starts right now. ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Welcome into the show. Hope everybody's having a very good Friday. I've already talked to you once today, but once wasn't enough. It's twice. It's the Roundup on a Friday, which we haven't had in about a week, or actually 2 weeks or something like that. I don't know. Getting ready for high school football tonight. We got 3 games in our area. Alamogordo at home against Roswell. The Tularosa Wildcats host New Mexico Military Institute, and Cloudcroft hosts Capitan. It's their homecoming game coming up tonight. So lots of different stuff to get into, and we'll focus on some of those games. I do want to spend a little bit of time on yesterday and what we got for the soccer playoffs coming up this weekend. I think we did get an update. Yeah, they did update the rankings on Max Preps. Here's what I'm a little confused with. Mayfield is still showing they've got to play 2 games, so I don't know what's going on. If they're playing tonight and tomorrow, I mean, it could be that they're playing tonight and tomorrow, but Tigers won last night, 4-1. Great effort from Alamo. Got, I think, 3 different guys scores. Junior Barbosa scored a couple. He had a brace. Julian Torres had another goal. Chris Hemphill picked up his first varsity goal, so he's a guy that's going to be a part of this varsity team next year. And Tigers going to be in the playoffs. We know that much. The question's going to come, where are they going to be seated at based on where Gadsden and Mayfield finished in the district. Gadsden did beat Oñate. They played, I believe, yesterday. And then they're going to play Centennial tomorrow. So there's the last hope for the Tigers to finish ahead of Gadsden. And Centennial, I think, is capable of pulling off an upset there. There's not a single team in the district that I look at and go, there's no way that this team is not going to beat the other. Gadsden was tied, was a scoreless tie with Oñate in the first half against the Knights, and then the Knights gave up 4 goals in the second half. So, Oñate played a good first half, didn't play a good second half. Maybe Centennial will give Gadsden a hard time. Maybe not. The Panthers are a very good team, and wouldn't be surprising if they can finish off their district season at 9-3. They own the tiebreaker over Alamo. Mayfield has a game up on both Alamo and Gadsden right now. And the frustrating thing for the Tigers right now is they're ranked number 5 in the classification for playoff predictions on Max Preps. They're ahead of Clovis and Rio Rancho, Volcano Vista, and Mayfield and Gadsden. But because their district finished, they're gonna have to fight through some stuff here. And I think my question is, when the committee makes their decision, I don't know who they're going to go with 1 through 4, because honestly, Cleveland, Hobbs, La Cueva, and Albuquerque High probably all have a claim to be in the top seed. They're unbeaten in their district. Their records are all pretty similar. The committee's going to have a tough choice to make there. And then after that, depending on where Alamo finishes in district, if they're the 3rd place team, are they okay with putting them ahead of a Clovis team that beat them, or Rio Rancho and Volcano Vista, who are either going to finish 2nd or 3rd, or maybe even tied for 2nd in their district, meaning moving up Mayfield and Gadsden ahead of them. So worst case scenario for Alamo, they're something like a 10 seed, I think. That seems to be what would be worst case. I can't imagine them being any lower than that. Best case scenario, I don't know. It still depends on how the district finishes. I mean, if Mayfield loses their last 2 games, they may have already played one and it just hasn't been put up on Max Preps yet. So they've got Las Cruces and Mayfield scheduled for Saturday, and there was a game that was supposed to be played on Tuesday against Deming. Of course, the weather stopped that from happening. Deming played yesterday against Alamo, so I assume that game maybe is happening tonight. That would be my best guess, because I guess they decided not to do it on Wednesday, do it on Friday, and then turn around and play Saturday. And that could be kind of challenging for Mayfield. Now, for Alamo, they need them to lose twice to have a chance there and move them up a little bit higher. So that's where the tough part's coming in for the Tigers. I just don't know, would they move Mayfield and Gadsden above Volcano Vista or Rio Rancho or Clovis? If that's the case, Alamo could still maybe end up getting a home playoff game. I don't know. Could it be a case where Mayfield gets all the way up to 5 where Alamo is, and then Gadsden moves to 6 and Alamo's is 7? There's a possibility. But remember, the Max Preps rankings are one criteria. Overall record is another, and Alamo has one of the best overall records in the state. So that's a positive for them, too. They've got, a couple wins over district champions. They've beaten Hobbs twice. They've beaten Mayfield. Not sure who else they might have. Have to look at their non-district schedule and who they might have wins over district champs. I don't think Los Lunas won their district. Who won the Chaparral district? I don't think it was Chaparral. I think it was Santa Teresa. Yeah, Santa Teresa won that district this year, which was Santa Teresa, Chaparral, Ruidoso, and Silver. That's kind of an interesting district this year. Aztec, that's another win over a district champion. Aztec is unbeaten in their district, so the Tigers have another notch there for a win over a district champion. So 2 wins over Hobbs, a win over Mayfield. So that's 4 or 5 wins over district champs this year. So that's a criteria I'm sure that's going to help them out a ton. It's just the finish in district, and I don't think that should be the end-all, be-all. And I got to think Mayfield and Gadsden have some quality wins on their schedule too. So I could possibly see maybe Alamo's a 9. You move Mayfield up to a 7. You move Gadsden to an 8. Alamo's a 9, and then it's Volcano Vista and Rio Rancho maybe. There's not a lot of a gap between a lot of those teams. So I was trying to see, if there was really any clear difference in a lot of these, and maybe somebody's got this really figured out especially well, and I'm the only one that's kind of in the weeds wondering how they're going to decide all of this at the end of the day. But it could be just as simple as Mayfield's down there to 9 and Gadsden's at a 10, and Alamo you get to be a 10. I don't think that would be especially fair to Alamo, because I think district finish is one criteria. But if they don't view the district as strong as some of the others, if they think that Cleveland Volcano Vista district is better, what are you going to do? So we'll see what happens. Tigers have done all they can. The game that's going to haunt them a little bit is that 2-1 loss at home to Gadsden, and probably the 8-1 loss to Gadsden. Both of those games kind of help decide things in the district for them. The goal differential in that 8-1 loss hurt them extensively, and losing that game at home to Gadsden. If they win that game, they're for sure ahead of Gadsden, and they're at least tied with Mayfield right now. And just the way that it worked out this year. The Lady Tigers picked up a 10-0 win over Deming yesterday. A couple of milestones for Shauna Williams. She surpassed 100 career goals. She's a sophomore, by the way. I want to point that out. She's still got 2 years left on that Lady Tiger soccer team. And for the second straight year, she broke a record for single seasons or goals in a single season. She broke that record last year. She broke her own record this year. So 44 goals this season. She's now got 103 for her career. She's just a dynamic goal scorer, has been since she's been a part of that varsity team. And you figure she's still got 2 years left and 2 years to get even better. And it's going to be fun to watch her going forward and see, what the plans are for her next after high school. Certainly some exciting futures, you feel like, for Shauna Williams. So pretty cool stuff yesterday. Lady Tigers pretty much spread the wealth around everybody else. They had a senior that had mainly played JV in Xenia Elias, who scored a goal. That was cool to see. Tori Barunda, also senior, scored. Cheyenne Drake had a goal. Ariana Torres, Janae Shackley, and Gabby Sandoval also had goals. And it was, we kind of knew what the matchup was going to be. Deming seemed like they had gotten a little bit better this year, but Alamo, against the teams they were supposed to beat this year, they were dominant. It was just they couldn't get some of those wins against some of the top-tier teams, and that's probably what's going to hurt them in terms of making the playoffs this weekend on Sunday. We'll see when the bracket comes out. I like to wait and see and not say anything for sure, because you never know. The committee may look at some other criteria and feel like Alamo is deserving of being a postseason team, but it has nothing to do with the quality of team that Alamo has been this year. They've been good. You just have to be a little bit above that to make the playoffs right now in Class 5A girls soccer. Alamo's ranked number 19, and the team that's going to be last one in is Carlsbad, who's beaten them 11-6-3, who's had a good year, and they may just sneak into the playoffs. Mayfield, who will finish second in the district and beat the Lady Tigers twice this year, may not make it. So it's not necessarily indicative on Alamo had a bad season. It just wasn't good enough in some spots. They needed a few more quality wins to give them a chance to get into the postseason. So just the situation where it is. Other scores from last night: Tularosa Volleyball won in straight sets over Dexter. They're now 15-2 this season, 2-0 in district. They get 2 games against Tucumcari next week to finish up their regular season. Cloudcroft faced off against Mesilla Valley Christian. They lost in straight sets last night. Both teams had their pink, or for Cloudcroft, it was their pink and teal event last night. So both of them had some special things going on yesterday evening. Cloudcroft, I believe, only has 1 game left in their regular season. They will face off against Mescalero Apache next Thursday to wrap up their regular season. Still have district tournament coming up. They're now 3-15 on the season, are the Lady Bears. But that's where we're sitting at through games last night. Let's talk tonight and Tiger football. It's going to be a tough one. Roswell has played very well this season. The Coyotes are one of the best 3 teams in the state, and I'll say it again. Unfortunately for the Alamogordo Tigers, the 3 best teams in the state, among every poll that you can look at, reside in the Tigers district. It's Goddard, it's Roswell, it's Artesia. Goddard and Artesia are facing off tonight in the Wool Bowl. That'll be a big-time game between those 2 teams. And I'm sure a packed house there at the Wool Bowl. And you'll have a lot of orange on one side, and you'll have a lot of navy blue on the other side. Something that is interesting tonight, and I didn't know about this, thanks to Tim Brock, who does the KNMZ Football Roundtable with us earlier in the day. He was actually listening to the game on the radio coming back from his game in Capitan last week, and at the end of the Roswell Artesia game, head coach Jeff Lynn got back-to-back personal foul penalties and was tossed from the game, so he's not coaching Roswell tonight. I'm sure he's got an assistant coach that will be able to handle the duties tonight. This is a team that, they beat Lovington 56-14. Alamo had lots of troubles with Lovington. They've lost to Hobbs 42-20. Beat Los Lonis 42-20 this year. Mia Mora crushed them. Beat Belen 35-8. Rolled past Cathedral. Piedra Vista, a 26-14 win, and then the loss to Artesia last week. They'll run the football. They do it very well, and a lot of things similar to Goddard in terms of wanting to just be a more of a running team than a passing team. But we heard Coach on Wednesday, Coach AJ Cisco, talk about they'd rather get to the edges and spread you out and give space to their athletes and give them a chance to run. And that has at times been a problem for Alamo, but I don't want to make this sound too mean. The Alamo defense has had trouble with running teams pretty much all season long. So we saw it against Deming. Deming liked to spread it out a little bit and get it to the edges. And their running back, who was exceptionally talented, his name is Cesar Chavez, I think. He could get to the corners and gave Alamo all kinds of problems. But they've also struggled against teams that can run up the middle too. So the Tigers have got to be better tonight if they want to be able to slow down Roswell's rushing attack and meet up with the speed that they've got. You know, there's no pressure on Alamo tonight. Go out and play. You know, do the things the coaches have been trying to get you to get to and do well, and just go have fun with it. That's about all you can say about going into tonight's game. I mean, continue to try to get better. And one thing Coach Cisco did say is that Roswell isn't exceptionally big on the line, especially compared to Goddard. So there's something that Alamo may not have to deal with as much, and the fact that Roswell doesn't have the size advantage. And again, one of the positives for the Tigers this year is I really don't feel like they've been pushed around a whole lot. There have been a couple of games where they've looked tired and they've been pushed around a bit, but for the most part, I feel like they've matched up okay up front. Defensively, they just still haven't been able to stop. With the exception of the Chaparral game, the Tigers have not had a very good defensive year. So, and offensively, I mean, I can't say it's a whole lot better on offense, but I think we've seen some positives for the Tigers in the way that they're moving the football, and I think defensively you've definitely seen some positives. I mean, they've had more, they've forced more negative plays this year than I think I've seen the defense do in a couple of years. You know, they've been more aggressive and made some stops. So I don't want to make it feel like I've been, overly critical of one side of the ball or the other. I think, clearly this is a football team that still needs to show big improvement before they're going to be able to compete and win, more than one game a year. And tonight's going to be tough. I think it should be viewed that way in respect to Roswell and the kind of season that they've had. So it's I'm just hoping to see more competitiveness from the Tigers. It was better against Goddard than, I don't want to say necessarily that I anticipated, but I think maybe I'm making comparisons to last year a little bit. And I'm seeing the improvement from there. This season, I think they went through a little slump there after the Senate's Race game where I didn't feel like I was seeing the improvement from them. And, obviously that changed in the Chaparral game. Maybe they gained some confidence. And I know, obviously, a big turnaround from beating Chaparral 35-0 to losing 47-0. But there's no doubt the difference in caliber of football team from Chaparral to Goddard. So we'll see what we get tonight. And I don't know if Roswell not having their head coach, if that'll make any bit of a difference. I'm sure he prepared them all week long, and so if that is the case, I don't know. I guess the question is, will those 2 personal foul penalties hold up? Did he appeal them? I mean, there may be a lot of things that go into that. I'm getting all that information kind of secondhand, so he may not be a part of tonight's game. And it was a close, hard-fought game, and clearly there was a call that he felt like the officials missed in that Artesia-Roswell game. Probably wouldn't be the first visiting coach to feel like they were getting a bad call at the Bulldog Bowl, but isn't that the way it always is? You come into somebody else's house and you feel like you're getting hometowned, and it's probably the furthest thing from what the reality is, but it may have been. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't see it, so no judgment from me towards the coach or towards the official. That wouldn't be fair. All right. On to the game out in Tularosa tonight. Thule trying to give themselves a chance to win a district championship. They win tonight. They'll be unbeaten. Play Dexter next week. You would expect that Dexter is probably going to beat Tucumcari tonight. Don't want to count the Rattlers out for sure, but Nimmi comes in at 5-3. Tularosa is 4-4 on the season, and this feels like a relatively even matchup. Nimmi, their wins this year, they've beaten Capitan 19-12. Capitan's had a tough season. That's not a win that really jumps out at you as super impressive, and also against a 2A team, another 2A team in Texaco. They beat them 25-14. Has got a win over Hagerman 17-8, and Hagerman's going to make the playoffs in 2A. But they're 3-5. Texaco's probably going to be a playoff team in that classification as well. They've got a win over Hot Springs, who haven't had a terrible year. They're 4-4. And lost Hope Christian 31-0. Didn't get blown off the field. Hope Christian's the number 1 team in the classification this year. Lost to Dexter 42-7. They do have a 26-0 win over Loving, which, Loving not a terrible team, but also, a 2A program. So Nimmi, I don't think, has beaten a Class 3A team this year. They've only played 2 3A teams this year in Hope Christian and Dexter. Everybody else has been, oh no, I'm sorry, Hot Springs is actually a 4A program, or did they move down to, they're one of those teams that moved down to 3A. Okay, they're 3A as well, I'm sorry. But the majority of the programs they faced off against are 2A, which I think we've seen this year. In some cases, there's not a lot of a difference between some of the best 2A teams. Like, they lost to Fort Sumner at the beginning of the year. Fort Sumner is unbeaten, and they're going to challenge Eunice for a state title in Class 2A, you would think, this year. So there's some, the top-end 2A teams are probably as good as some of the top-end 3A teams this year. I don't know if there's that big of a difference between those two classifications, but I think Tularosa's probably played a little bit tougher schedule overall. Now, whether that has any difference on the matchup tonight, probably not. But I think when you start looking at overall records, it's at least worth noting that Nimmi maybe hasn't played as tough of a run as Thule has. They both have a win over Hot Springs. Thule's win was a little bit closer than Nimmi's win was, but first game of the season as well. Of course, Thule lost to Socorro, second game of the season. Socorro's gone on to have 7-1 season. They beat Lordsburg. Lordsburg's turned their season around. They're playing for a district title up in Estancia tonight. Certainly you give Estancia the edge, but still. Lost big to Eunice. Has Eunice played a close game this year? I don't know if they have. Let's see. They've played a couple. They've been pretty darn dominant in pretty much every game. They just beat Loving 67-0, which is worth noting. It's hard to score 67 points in a New Mexico high school football game because you get to halftime and you're up by 50. It's over. So you don't see a lot of those super lopsided scores anymore in high school football in New Mexico. The most recent loss for Thule to Hatch. Hatch has turned their season around completely. They're sitting 4-4. I think they were 1-4 going into that Tularosa game and have won their last 3. They've also beaten Hagerman this year, same as Nimmi has. They lost to Ruidoso, which Ruidoso's kind of taken a little bit of a slide, but I like the Wildcats schedule a little bit better. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a close one. Thule's got to obviously get their running game going. If their defense can play as well as they have the last few weeks, they held a good Hatch Valley team to 17, Tucumcari to 21. They shut out Hagerman. They held Ruidoso to 14. So last month or so, the defense has been pretty darn solid for the Wildcats. They need to have another night similar to that, and if they can run the football, that's what they're going to have to do. That's what they do well. They're definitely not a passing team, and we'll see if they can do that tonight against Nimmi. But 7 o'clock kickoff, and I want to say, I don't know if that's their pink game or not. Doesn't list it here on their deal. Doesn't? No. But should mention tonight for Alamogordo, it is Law Enforcement Appreciation Night and their pink out game as well. So if you want to wear some pink gear, black and gold, whatever works best for you. But we hope to see you out at the game, and we always enjoy the Law Enforcement Appreciation Nights. I love those. Just like any of the other teacher appreciation, military, all that stuff. I think the school's done a great job with those things going forward. And this will be the next to last game for Tularosa. Same for the Tigers, next to last game of the regular season. But tonight up in Cloudcroft, it is the end of the regular season as they host Capitan. And I was kind of surprised. We talked in the K&Z Football Roundtable. Most of us went with Capitan in the game. I think this is going to be a very close matchup. I think a lot of that has to do with what we've seen Capitan do the last couple of seasons. In that, in Class 3A, they were in the state title game. Now they're in 2A. They've only won one game this year. And they've played a tough schedule. But, at the end of the day, you're still a one-win team. But, they lose a tight game to Hagerman, and Hagerman beat Cloudcroft. Lost. Just mentioned that game to Nimi. They barely lost. They barely lose to Jow. Texaco beat them 26-6. Loving 37-12. Loving beat Cloudcroft as well. Lost 50-0 to Estancia. That was the same thing Estancia did to every other team in the district. I'm curious if Lordsburg can even make that competitive. Estancia has been so much better than everybody else in this district so far. Lost to Lordsburg 40-32. That was a bit closer game between Capitan and Lordsburg than it was between Lordsburg and Cloudcroft. Cruise past Mescalero. So I mean, you're trying to play comparison game. I mean, that's kind of what you can do. Especially when talking about small school football, and if you haven't got a chance to see some of these teams play, but maybe Capitan's finding something here at the end of the season. But Cloudcroft's got homecoming tonight, and I'm still going to say it, regardless of what happens, on selection on Saturday, the rankings or the playoff brackets will come out for Class 2A on Saturday night. I think 8-man releases theirs as well. Cloudcroft should be very proud of the season that they've had. The question to me is who gets in and who gets left out. Here's the deal. I can't see them having Clayton in the postseason when they haven't won a game this year. That to me seems, I saw somewhere in Massachusetts where a 0-win team got into the postseason because of the ranking system that they do. Not good. So what's going to be tough for Cloudcroft is if Capitan wins tonight, they have to be seated behind Capitan. And looking at the rankings, Cloudcroft may be on the outside looking in. But if they win tonight, I think they'll be in good shape because they've got a good overall record, I think. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm curious what they'll do with Loving. They may go winless in their district. They've got Hagerman tonight. I think both those teams are still looking for their first win in that district. So one of those teams might get in without winning a game in their districts. Texaco's got the same deal going on for them. Well, they'll beat Clayton tonight, I would assume. So they'll at least get a win in their district. But, it depends on the overall record at some point. But this, I talked about it earlier in the week. This game might be for a playoff spot tonight between Cloudcroft and Capitan. It may really come down to something as simple as that. So we shall see. Cloudcroft's going to have an argument and say, hey, we won 4 games this year. And you've got a Hagerman team that, again, Hagerman beat Cloudcroft, so that's going to be a tough one to argue. And that's one of the other challenges is that there's some teams that are right ahead of Cloudcroft that have wins over them, like Hagerman and Lordsburg and Loving. And it's just right there on the edge. There's going to be a couple of those games that they could have gotten. It might have made a little bit of a difference for them. But I think if they get the win tonight, doesn't matter. I can't see how Clayton would get in over a 5-win Cloudcroft team being winless. I know they've played a tougher schedule than those teams, but that just seems wrong at the end of the day. I would hope that the New Mexico Activities Association would be like, yeah, we're not doing that. I think they would be smart enough to not put in a 0-win team over either Capitan at 2-7 or Cloudcroft at 5-4. Just would shock the heck out of me if that happened. No disrespect to Clayton, but I think even they would recognize that part of it. I would hope. So, but I can't guarantee. I mean, they're going to probably lobby as much as they can. Everybody will do that. So those are your high school football games across our area tonight. We'll get state brackets for 2A football and 8-man on Saturday nights. Sunday afternoon around 4 o'clock, we'll get the brackets for soccer class. Is that 1A, 2A through 5A? So all the soccer brackets will be released this weekend. And I think everything is on the NMAA's website this year. You don't have to try and go find a weird link on KOB. So my understanding is everything's going to be at nmact.org if you want to watch the selection shows. I think they've got that They had just moved J.P. Murrieta. I think he'd just gone from KOB over to the NMAA towards the end of last season, and I think they were still transitioning everything, so I'm sure they found a way to do that streaming stuff on the NMAA side, and JP does a great job, man. I can't thank him enough for taking that job at the NMAA and doing really good selection shows. I'm just going to say that right there. I'm going to leave it where it is. We'll talk about some of the other games across the state. World Series gets going again tonight. We've got college football, which it's an okay college football weekend. I wouldn't say it's amazing. We've got a few ranked matchups. I think it'll be all right. And NFL on Sunday. So we'll get in on all that. Anything you'd like to talk about, 437-1230. Let's hear from our Tiger Athlete of the Week now, who is Braden Martin of Tiger Football. Braden, one of those guys that has fought hard and worked hard with this Tiger Football program over the last 2 seasons, and was fun to talk to yesterday, and we'll see what he and the rest of the guys can do tonight against Roswell. So we'll hear from him next and come back with more of the Roundup after this. This is your ESPN Alamogordo Tiger Athlete of the Week Spotlight, brought to you by the Winner's Circle, Begins Pistachio Land, and Vision Ford Lincoln. This week's athlete is Braden Martin of Tiger Football. It's been kind of a crazy season for you personally. You've had to fight through an injury. We've seen some crazy games out there. What has this season been like for you, your senior year?
Honestly, this has probably been one of the funnest seasons, just with the bonding of the team and how we've really improved from last year. I think that's one of the biggest things that was really good about this year, is just improving every game. So,
as coach, there's not a lot of seniors in this year's group. As coach kind of looked to you and Tom and some of the other guys to be leaders for some of the juniors and sophomores?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Since we've been there around the longest, that just the whole part of this being a senior is just making sure that everything's done right so the next class is up can continue the tradition and just bleed black and gold.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to be a leader? I mean, I know for a lot of kids, when they get that opportunity on a team, they really relish it. Is that something for you that you've really enjoyed this season?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely been really fun, just making sure that all the sophomores that are coming up that'll be playing varsity and taking over for us seniors, just the biggest thing is just leading them and making sure they know what to do, because everything's bigger than the individual on the team. It's more about the team and the community than it is about us. So, kind of been a jack of all trades for Tiger Football this year. You talk about it being fun.
I would think, being able to do wide receiver, running back, quarterback, playing on defense, has that been a part of it, and being able that you got to do so many different things this year?
I think most definitely that's helped out a lot, is just the all-around guy that can go anywhere that coach can put anywhere, and I'll get it done.
Probably the most exciting game for the team had to be the win over Chaparral. To get that victory for this group had to mean a lot, and to do it during homecoming when everything kind of ended and you sat down and thought about the game afterwards. I mean, what is that memory going to be like for you think?
It's probably going to be one of the best ones, knowing that my senior year we won our homecoming game. So it's definitely a big thing I know for a lot of the seniors that was just one of the things that we planned for most, is at least winning that one game. So
was that celebration after the game, singing the fight song and all that?
It was great. The community was great for everybody that came out. We really enjoyed it. We loved the enthusiasm for everybody. And just seeing Coach Cisco smile was really a big thing for us seniors, and that he was happy, and a lot of that stress was lifted off their shoulders. So.
Get to ring that victory bell, too.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome.
You're a senior this year, so high school coming to an end. What's next for you after high school?
I'm looking to go into the military, but I think I'm going to go to college first, get a degree. That way I can go in as an officer, and then just play it off from there.
Have you decided what branch you want to do yet, or not quite sure?
I'm kind of leaning more towards Air Force at the moment, but anything could happen. So
whatever. Probably career-wise, whatever works best for you, right?
Yeah.
Big game coming up on Friday night against Roswell. Braden, congratulations on being Athlete of the Week.
Thank you.
What makes Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai unique? At Vision Ford, we're all about you, your vision, your style, your needs, and your story. Vision is fully stocked with dozens of the hottest 2018 models, including the Ford F-Series, America's #1 selling truck for 40 years. With financing options that fit every budget and a sales team dedicated to you, Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai continues the Yes We Can tradition. All we need is you. Visit us today at 1500 South White Sands Boulevard or 24/7 online at visionfordlincoln.com. When you're shopping for that special gift, think of McGinn's Pistachio Land. Pistachios and wine make great gifts. Select from the many flavored pistachio gifts in burlap gift bags, baskets,
and a variety of New Mexico gourmet foods and souvenirs. Send a unique New Mexico wine made right on the farm. The best part? The McGinns will ship your gifts for you. Pistachio Land, just north of Alamogordo on Highway 5470 and online at pistachioland.com.
Every student wants their high school sports apparel, and there's only one place to get it, the Winner's Circle. They carry all the local school letter jackets, whether you're a Tiger, Wildcat, or Bear. While you're there, get your jacket personalized with embroidery, stitching, and have your letters and patches sewn on too. They also carry trophies, plaques, and awards, and service with a smile. It's all at the Winner's Circle, 1201 10th Street in Alamogordo.
People you know. Community people, community people.
If you're looking for a new car or truck, we've got your loan and a local dealer has your vehicle. It's the people you know combination. See us today. Federally insured by NCUA, OFCU, 3 branches in Otero County, 434-8500.
Community people, you know.
Looking for a good pre-owned vehicle? You know the one everyone wants? Late model, low mileage, good condition? Then you need to look at Richardson Motors. Robbie and his staff will get you in a vehicle you want, whether it's a car, truck, SUV, or van. At Richardson Motors, it's about taking care of the customer right the first time. So for the best service, the best vehicles, it's got to be the best dealership. Richardson Motors. Richardson Motors, 318 South White Sands, next to McDonald's.
Slow internet again? Signal constantly dropping? Don't take it out on your computer. Instead, call Tularosa Basin Telephone Company for internet stress relief. They have the speed and the reliability to make your internet dreams come true. If you want fast, they have faster. If you want service you can rely on, they are the most reliable. And customer service? It's all about you. Call Tularosa Basin Telephone Company to get connected. 585-2700.
ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Welcome back into the show. What do we got for other good games across the area? We already mentioned, I'm talking high school football games. We've already mentioned that Artesia and Goddard are facing off tonight. That'll be a big game to who has control of the district heading into next week. And Artesia, I mean, they're looking at it, and again, no offense to the Tigers, but if they win tonight, they probably win the district. I think you have to imagine Artesia is going to be a heavy, heavy favorite heading into next week's game against the Tigers. So Goddard, meanwhile, for them, I mean, if they win, it's not necessarily for sure with Roswell, and they're in-city rival next week. So trying not to be disrespectful there, but I think it, respect due to Artesia and Goddard and Roswell and all of this. Monzano beat El Dorado 47-30 last night, and Cleveland's crushed West Mesa 50-0. That's about it in terms of, I would say, games that really jump out at me. Curious one. I'm not sure we would ever have imagined Grants and Bernalillo, a 7-1 Grants team, a 6-2 Bernalillo team. Go figure on that, but that's probably one of the better games in the state. Here's another one for you in the regular season. Fort Sumner / House with Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa's 8-1 this year. Fort Sumner's 8-0 this season. They've had a pretty spectacular year. Carlsbad hosting Las Cruces. Cruces trying to stay above 500 heading into their matchup against Mayfield next week. Mayfield gets Hobbs tonight. Mayfield can finish second place in the district. They win tonight, and they beat Las Cruces next week. They've got an opportunity to do that. They might find it tough against Hobbs, but we'll see. Volcano Vista Rio Rancho is a good one tonight as well. I think that'll be for second place in that district with Cleveland obviously being in first. Belen and Valencia. I'm curious to see if Valencia can be. I mean, they didn't have a good time against Los Lunas, but maybe they can knock off the other Valencia County team there and see what happens in that matchup. And Eunice versus Jal, you'd have to expect Eunice is a heavy favorite there. Ruidoso hosting Lovington tonight. That should be a pretty entertaining game. Silver faces Santa Teresa. in that district. Seems like Deming has probably got that district locked up, but an interesting game there nevertheless. Mentioned Lordsburg and Estancia. That's for that district championship tonight. And Escalante and Newcomb is a good one in Class 2A. Newcomb's undefeated at 9-0. Escalante 7-2 this season. It's interesting how some teams in 2A are playing 10 games and others are not. I guess you don't have maximum as games are 10. You can play 9 if you want to, but kind of interesting the way that some teams have decided to play the full 10 weeks throughout the season. Los Lunas and Valley. That's a district matchup there. That's going to be a good one. Deming faces Chaparral tonight. That's a district matchup. And Oñate and Gadsden facing to see who's not going to finish in dead last in that district probably. Hatch and Hot Springs. Hatch trying to keep their winning streak going. And those seem to be some of the best games, at least on Friday nights across state. Got any good ones on Saturday? Roberts and St. Mike's, maybe. Other than that, not a whole lot. So there we are for your high school football heading into the weekend. And just as I mentioned before the break, brackets for 2A and 8-man football coming out on Saturday evening, and all the soccer brackets coming out on Sunday afternoon around 4 o'clock. So nmact.org, that's where you want to go to check out the bracket release shows for those. Okay? All right. World Series tonight. And chatting with the guys this morning on the KNMZ Football Roundtable, I don't think this series is over. And I talked about it in the show earlier in the week. Dodgers are a good team. They've barely lost the first 2 games. It's kind of been an inning that's been the difference on each side. And the Red Sox obviously can really take control of the series with a win tonight. That doesn't mean I don't think the Red Sox could come in and get this win, but Walker Buehler's been very good this year. It's an opportunity for him to go out and have a big game tonight, and we'll see what Rick Porcello does for Boston. He's been pretty darn good this postseason. So, and he's been a little better than Buehler. Buehler hasn't been great this postseason. It's his first opportunity. It'll be his first World Series game. Might be Porcello's first World Series game as well. So, I mean, but Porcello being a veteran, sometimes that's a little bit of a different experience there. You got to think the Red Sox might pour everything they can into getting this win and taking a 3-0 series lead. Not saying willing to sacrifice Game 4, but maybe to be more aggressive in Game 3 with some of their pitching decisions and various other things with having a 2-0 series lead, and try to go out there and kind of step on the throat a little bit and to go up 3-0 tonight. The Dodgers certainly can't have Tibbin-ness this evening. I mean, you don't want to say a series is over. We've seen it happen once, a team come back from 3-0, but we've never seen it in the World Series, and so crucial for the Dodgers to win tonight. That seems more than redundant, but certainly the case heading into tonight's matchup. But I actually like the Dodgers tonight. I think they'll get the win. They'll make it a series and pick up the win tonight over the Red Sox. But I expect them to bounce back. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think they'll find a way to get a win tonight. Maybe I'm just hoping that the series gets to be a bit more interesting and one team doesn't take a 3-0 series lead. That would be pretty disappointing if that happened. So that's this weekend's. Game 4 is on Saturday, Game 5 on Sunday. We'll let you guys know with Tiger football tonight, Aggies tomorrow, that we won't have either Game 3 or Game 4 of the World Series. We will have Game 5 if necessary, and we will have Game 6 and 7 next week if they get around to those. So apologies on that. You can listen on the ESPN app. You can listen on ESPNradio.com. Of course, you can watch the game on Fox. There's lots of different venues that you can go to in terms of tuning in the game. I know there's a lot of you out there that don't like Joe Buck. I don't know why, but everybody's deserved their preference. So if you want to listen to Dan Shulman and Chris Singleton, ESPNradio.com, ESPN app, you can tune into either one of those. But Tiger football, Tiger sports, Aggie sports, as always, will take precedence over anything else that we air on the station. Just a good rule of thumb if you're wondering, what we're playing, but also good rule of thumb if you're wondering what we're broadcasting. Go like our Facebook page, facebook.com/ESPN Alamogordo, and I put the full schedule up there and keep it updated regularly. So you can go like that and can actually, if you got your smartphone, click on it and you can put it in your phone if you want to. Just save the image. Super easy. Know what you can be listening to. And we're heading into Aggie basketball season. Their first game is not next week, but it's the week after. We're still a ways out from Tiger basketball getting going. They don't play till the 1st of December against Belen, but we'll be broadcasting those games this year again. And of course, we got baseball and softball down the line, and we'll keep you up on what the plans are for soccer this year, and we'll let you know next week what the plans are there. Okay. How about college football heading into the weekend? You got a couple of top 10 teams facing each other. Chance for a little bit of supremacy in the SEC East with Georgia and Florida. Both teams have had some disappointments this year, but hey, listen, Florida can vault themselves. Both teams can either vault themselves into or back into the college football playoff discussion with a win. And Florida, if they win that, boy, they're going to have wins over LSU and Georgia on their schedule this year. Pretty darn impressive. I mean, I don't know if you look across the SEC of anybody that has necessarily a better resume than they do, and makes that Kentucky, boy, they don't lose that Kentucky game. Where is Florida at right now? But they've beaten Mississippi State on the road. They're playing Georgia in a neutral site game. They beat LSU, beat a tough Vandy team on the road in their last game. And the end of the season is not especially tough for them. They've got Missouri, South Carolina, Idaho, and Florida State. So Mizzou and South Carolina are certainly not teams that are towards the top of the SEC. Idaho's an FCS team now, and even if they were FBS, it would be kind of like playing New Mexico State. No offense to the Aggies, and then Florida State, I'm sure will always be a challenge at the end of the season for them, but I don't know if it necessarily gets them into the playoff, but they're sitting pretty. I mean, they'll have the SEC East locked up and be in a nice spot. I don't think... Are they all tied? Is it Kentucky tied with them on one loss right now as well? Yeah, they would need Kentucky to lose one here at the end of the season to have a chance to get past them. But Kentucky's got Mizzou this week, and then they've got Georgia, Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, Louisville to finish off the season. Those aren't especially scary ones. The next 2 weeks are the big ones for Kentucky. But they would own the head-to-head tiebreaker over Florida. If they win the remainder of their SEC games, then they're in the driver's seat. And actually, they're in the driver's seat regardless because they've got Georgia on their schedule coming up. So even if Georgia wins that game against Florida, they've got a chance to control their own destiny. And who would have thought about that midway through the season that Kentucky would control their own destiny in the SEC East? Go figure on that. Other ranked games this weekend, you got Utah, UCLA tonight. You would expect Utah to have that one. Appalachian State got ranked last week, and then last night they lost 34-14 to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern's pretty good, though. They're 7-1. That's not a bad football team. West Virginia crushed Baylor last night. Number 2 Clemson's got Florida State, which, Florida State's not very good this year, but that would still be a game that would worry me a little bit. I would hope if you're Dabo Swinney. OU taking on Kansas State. Wisconsin's got Northwestern. Northwestern's been feisty this year. They're not a bad team. We'll find out if South Florida is any good when they go to Houston this week. Houston's not anything special, but the American Athletic Conference doesn't, of their ranked teams, none of them have any really impressive wins this season. But one of them is probably going to end up going to one of the big bowl games this year. Iowa at Penn State. Iowa doesn't really have any impressive wins. They can change that with a win against Penn State. Washington's got Cal trying to bounce back from a couple of losses. NC State goes to Syracuse after their loss to Clemson last week. Washington State maybe has a chance to take control of the Pac-12 North with a win over Stanford. Texas A&M taking on Mississippi State. Texas I feel like kind of a scary game in Stillwater against Oklahoma State. I don't think Oklahoma State's especially good this year, but Notre Dame has played some games this year where they have not been impressive against teams you would expect them to run away against, like Pitt last week, or 2 weeks ago, I should say, 19-14. They had the same thing against Ball State where they really didn't pull away from them. Vandy. Now, they look great against Virginia Tech and Stanford. Navy's not very good this year, so it would be pretty disappointing if Notre Dame doesn't take care of business. That's a neutral site game, by the way. That's in San Diego, I believe. And then Oregon takes on Arizona in the other ranked matchup. No Bama this weekend, no LSU. That's the big matchup next weekend is Bama-LSU. So that'll be good stuff. Let's take a break. We'll come back. You're listening to the KNMZ. You're listening to the Roundup here on ESPN Alamogordo 103.7.
This is Brandon with Desert Sun. I'm not sure if you all know this, but Desert Sun Auto Group consists of 5 dealerships across the great state of New Mexico. This means we have 5 new car departments with over 500 vehicles to choose from and over 200 quality pre-owned vehicles. Majority of these vehicles, when bought from us, are backed with Desert Sun's lifetime powertrain protection. Stop by either Desert Sun Motors or Desert Sun Toyota today and let us help you find your new ride. See our full inventory at DesertSunMotors.com.
Everybody else wakes up so rested and cheery, while you wake up with back pain and ready to get back into bed again. They make you sick. It takes 30 minutes just to get your back feeling normal. You work hard to make life great. Why is sleep such an issue? It shouldn't be. Sleepwell can help you find your sleep again. From finding a mattress that supports your back to relieving strain by using a power base, Sleepwell will partner with you. Come see us today. Find the rest you need and lose the back pain. When you sleep well, you live well.
Stop by White Sands Motorsports right here in Alamogordo for all your power sport needs. White Sands Motorsports carries Honda, Yamaha, and Roxor. New to the store, Can-Am and Textron side-by-side vehicles. As always, they handle parts and services for all makes and models. For the best power sport deals on 2 or 4 wheels, White Sands Motorsports has got you covered. Open Tuesday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and Saturdays, 9:30 to 5. 21070 Highway 70 or visit motorsportsofnewmexico.com.
There are no roadblocks scheduled today on either Highway 70 or 54 South. For the latest roadblock information, call 575-678-1178. Tonight's forecast is calling for clear skies. In Alamogordo, expect an overnight low of 46. For Cloudcroft, an overnight low of 40. For tomorrow, we're looking at sunny skies. Alamogordo tomorrow, high of 77, low of 48. Cloudcroft tomorrow, high of 63, overnight low of 43 degrees.
When you hear the term Outfitters of Champions, you know it's the Winner's Circle. They can do all your custom silk screen and embroidery on hats, shirts, and jackets. Whether it's for your business, team sales, special events, or personal use. The Winner's Circle is the place for quality work at reasonable prices with group and team discounts available. They also customize trophies, personalized plaques, and sporting gear. The Winner's Circle, 1201 10th Street, or give them a call at 437-9373.
What makes Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai unique? At Vision Ford, we're all about you. Your vision, your style, your needs, and your story. Vision is fully stocked with dozens of the hottest 2018 models, including the Ford F-Series, America's #1 selling truck for 40 years. With financing options that fit every budget and a sales team dedicated to you, Vision Ford Lincoln Hyundai continues the Yes We Can tradition. All we need is you. Visit us today at 1500 South White Sands Boulevard or 24/7 online at visionfordlincoln.com.
Now you have a choice when it comes to keeping massive files of your bank statements every month. With an online e-statement, you'll have an accurate, easy-to-read electronic statement you can access anywhere, anytime. Get more control over your cash flow and no more giant filing cabinets. Our e-statements get an A+. First National Bank, member FDIC. When you grow, we grow.
ESPN Alamogordo 103.7. Welcome back into the show. 437-1230 if you want to call in. Football tonight. Alamogordo hosting Roswell, 7 o'clock kickoff. We'll be on the air at 6:45 here on ESPN Alamogordo. Wildcats hosting Nimi tonight out in Tularosa, 7 o'clock kickoff there. The Bears are hosting Capitan this evening, also a 7 o'clock kickoff in Cloudcroft. So best luck to all those teams. Alamogordo Cross Country is running in Albuquerque today. I'm not sure what time their meet is, but we'll post some results up on our Facebook page tonight, facebook.com/ESPN Alamogordo. So those teams running tonight. 2 teams, yes. Cloudcroft Cross Country is running in Ruidoso. Both those teams have their district meets next week, and then, of course, the state meet up in Rio Rancho the following week, which I'll say again was such a cool event to attend last year. That was, in terms of things that I've covered for high school sports, one of the more interesting, I didn't know what to expect sort of things, and I was like, this is fun. I loved it. That was great. And Mescalero Volleyball takes on Lordsburg on the road on Saturday, and that's our only other bit of weekend action. It's pretty quiet. No soccer, no volleyball for Alamogordo. Cloudcroft and Thule are also off this weekend too. So not a bunch for high school sports this weekend, but we do get brackets for 2A football, which Cloudcroft is going to be watching that closely after tonight's game, and soccer brackets on Sunday, which Alamogordo boys and girls soccer will be watching to see what happens there. So we'll see all of that. And again, you can go to nmact.org and check that out for yourself if you want to view the show. We'll post a link to it up on our Facebook page and on Twitter at Charles Winnicky. You can follow me there. NFL this weekend, got some good games. I talked about it earlier in the week. We got games of teams that are right there on the edge. A couple 3 and 4 teams, Eagles and Jaguars, trying to go in the right direction. Starting with that game. Chiefs trying to take care of business against the Broncos. Same for the Redskins against the Giants. The Bengals and Bucks both on 3 losses. Bengals do have 1 more win. They haven't had their bye week yet. Seahawks and Lions are both 3 and 3. The Jets are 3 and 4. The Bears are 3 and 3. They face off. A big matchup between the Ravens and the Panthers. 4 and 2 Carolina. 4 and 3 Baltimore. Browns and the Steelers. Browns tied the first time around. We'll see what happens the second time around. Steelers seem to have a little bit more of the momentum. They're trending in the right direction. The Browns not as much. Colts and Raiders. Colts, at least if they get to 3 and 5, they'll still only be 2 games behind Houston, who whipped up last night on Miami, and maybe put themselves in a tie for second place with the Titans and the Jags. And I think would at least be in the wild. You would put them right back in the wild card hunt if they win that game against the Raiders, because you've got the Patriots running away with their division. It's a mess in the AFC North. The Texans are starting to create some distance in the AFC South, and the Chiefs have got the AFC West. Chargers are right on their heels, though. So there's going to be probably somebody out of the AFC West that's going to have a really good record and ends up being a wild card team. At least the way it looks at the moment. Packers and Rams, good test for LA. I don't know. I kind of think LA is going to win that by a pretty heavy margin. The Packers defense, I don't think is good enough to stop them. Cards and Niners in a game that really nobody wants to watch. Bill Simmons made a great point about how the NFL scheduling is so bad. Why put so many of your games early in the day and not have a few more in the afternoon, especially for Red Zone? But there's only 3 afternoon games, and pretty much one of them's watchable. And that's Packers and Rams. And that may become very unwatchable quickly. Who knows? Saints and Vikings is a great Sunday night game. That's going to be fun. And then Monday Night Football might have one of their lower ratings of the year for the Bills and the Patriots. Oh, poor Buffalo. They get a Monday Night Football game in town, and it's probably going to be ugly. I feel bad for the fans that show up to those games up there on a regular basis. I can at least sit from my warm home and lament. They're actually going out to the games. Maybe the Bills will give them at least a competitive game. That would be nice. Then the Patriots will find a way to win at the end. That's usually how that script goes, right? I know it well. World Series Game 3 tonight. And any other big sports-wise this weekend? Tell you what, I've been really interested in the NBA early on in the season. It's been 4 or 5 games in, and I've been really following what's going on. So it's been a fun season. LeBron finally got his first win in Los Angeles. I know you guys were all waiting for that. Have a great rest of your day. Hope to see you at the football game tonight. On the air at 6:45 here on ESPN Alamogordo between the Tigers and the Coyotes. Have a great day, And we'll talk to you in the Roundup on Monday.
Hey, it's Trey Wingo. You're listening to ESPN Alamogordo 103.7, Southern New Mexico sports leader, KNMZ Alamogordo.
Sports Center.